Hey guys, BJ the Brave here, back with part 2 of FORGECAST, a podcast all about Warhammer 40k Warpforge. We just completed part 1 over on the Ecclesiarchs channel. If you've not seen that, I will leave the link below. Obviously, as always, go back and check that out, and then bounce back here when you are ready. So, Ecclesiarch, let's jump into the exciting stuff. We have got a brand new raid that launched
Oh
yesterday.
boy.
And we've got the release, the reinforcement drop for the
Hmm.
Adepta Sororitas. What are your hype levels? Before we jump in the cars, what are your hype levels for this as a reinforcement drop?
Very high. Because this solves a lot of sisters issues. Obviously, I have some doubts about certain cards, thinking that they're too strong, but I'm always like that, as you know. I tend to panic a lot. But I also like that we got another warlord. And I think we are also going to see Erica being played more, which is also good for a good thing for me because I'm bored of saying only Junith. Maybe we should start from Aveline, or is it Aveline or Aveline?
Yeah, I think it's Aveline.
Okay,
I
Aveline.
actually don't know, if I'm honest. All I know
Okay,
is that
let's call her the Celestian Sacristan. Okay,
we
or
haven't
Big
we haven't
Mama.
we have an Aveline in the community, don't we? Who it's kind of like I think their names are spelt different.
Oh, actually, yeah, that's
Yeah, but
actually
but
true.
but it's probably said very similar. So
Okay, I'm
so
just gonna call her Big Mama.
First of all, 10 out of 10 for the artwork on this. Like, this
Oh
is
yeah,
absolutely fire, this artwork. I think it's like is 100% in the top 5 cards in the game for artwork.
absolutely.
I really think it's amazing. But that side, let's talk about this first then, and then we'll work our way through the cards. So, Aveline is a 35 health, 2/2, standard stuff there. It says, pray, give +1 melee and +1 ranged to a friendly troop. Yes, guys, that means troop. It can't put it on, she can't give this to herself. But I do love that it has this ability that's beyond the talent. This is something they've been doing with the Warlords recently. And let's just jump into the talent, and then you can give me your thoughts. The talent costs 2 energy, the Demon Breaker. Give +1 melee, blast 1, and shield to your Warlord until your next turn. If you've got 8 faith banked, give it permanently. Holy schmoly. Right, okay. What are your thoughts on this as an ability? Where do you see this being? Do you think it's good? And do you see it being, where do you see it being kind of played? What type of
Ooh.
style of play?
It's very interesting. That's the first thing I'm gonna say. It's very good in a sense that every time you pray, you can also shield up. So it's kind of like having pray every single turn without getting that bonus faith because of that. The problem is that problem as in like the balancing side is that you need to have a troop on the board. So there has to be something for you to target because otherwise you really can't do it. Which is, I think, in a way good for the game. It's also good that she gets +1 melee because this helps her contain threats in the early game, like remove stuff. Plus, she gets a blast as well, so she can keep bashing the enemy warlord. And she has a pretty powerful late game tool. So it's like when you get to 8 phase, she's slowly gonna start growing
She
and becoming
turns into the
stronger.
demon that she's going to turn into the finisher, isn't she? She's going to turn into the Wincon.
Yeah, she's basically becoming a monster
Yeah.
because you cannot stop her if she's growing so much. This reminds me of one specific warlord, which was the Iron Hands Primarch Ferris Manus from HHL. He basically did the same thing. At some point, he started to grow and become bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and at the point where he would just beat you to death. So this is basically what she's doing as well, and I'm all for it, honestly. Plus, I like that this starts at 8 faith, so you really can't cheat it. Like, you
Yeah.
really can't just say, okay, you know what? I'm going to start doing this with one relic. So, yeah, I think it's pretty interesting. I don't know how strong she'll be. We need to
Mm.
test her, but I definitely love overall what I'm seeing. And yeah, that art, oh my god, man. That's like just premiere. That's crazy good.
She seems to me to have really good synergy with flankers, right? Because you can bring the flank on, you pray with Aveline, your flankers suddenly get a +1/+1 buff immediately, which they can attack with. And obviously they released a new flanker, which we'll get to as well. So that's something I'd want to try. I do wonder though whether there's an not anti-synergy, but I do wonder to your point whether the eight faith is like too much and almost like counter to what the style of deck is going to be that you build around her. Like you're probably going to have either won the game by the time this thing starts gearing up, or you've lost the game, I think, given the build you would play. I could be wrong on that. I've not got her yet. I've not played her. But I would quite like to definitely try her. I'm playing out a troop every turn with a kind of, by the way, permanent buff of +1/+1. I do think that's pretty cool. And I also think her ability of giving +1 melee until the start of your next turn is a nice counter to Swarmlord and Titus and Gordrang and things like that want to just melee you down as well.
So, plus you get the shield.
And plus you get the shield, right? Yeah. I mean, you might, depends what you do. Like, obviously, you might attack. Oh no, you can't attack. Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can attack, can't you? Because this isn't the prayer. So you might attack and lose it, but yeah, I mean, it seems like a beatdown type of thing. There's a nice idea that she becomes the finisher, but I think it's going to be too late for that. Overall,
well, time will tell.
Time will tell. Let's have a look then. So we'll finish on here, and then we'll go to the raid one. So the next card we've got is an epic card, which is the Sororitas Rhino. When a friendly unit prays, deploy Sacred. Oh,
Sacred Rose.
So Sacred Rose, yeah. Oh, where have we gone? Oh no, what's going on?
I mean, I see everything.
Ah, there we go. There we go.
Yeah,
so the Sacred Rose. So, this card is 5 health for 4, right? And basically, you drop it, and then you can pray with your Warlord, and you immediately get a Rose Sister. If you've got other units praying as well, they'll drop Rose Sisters as well. But, I mean, even if you only just do it with your Warlord, let's just think about that for a second. On 4 energy, you get 5... You get 8, potentially 9 if you've got 3 faith. Potentially 9 points, which is better than the battle standard from AM.
But this is the highlight of the reinforcements, BJ, I think. This is very powerful. Does this have, like, is it me or this has almost more stats than the Rhino, not the Rhino, but Impulsor?
Oh, yeah. Because that's 5, 8. No, 6, 3. That has 9, right? This has 5, 9 if she's got... It depends if you've got the 3 faith, yeah? Because the thing about the Sacred Rose Sister... Yeah, let's talk about the Sacred Rose Sister, and then we'll come back to the Rhino. So the Sacred Rose Sister is a really interesting card, because it's a 2-drop. If you've got 1 faith, it gains +1/+1. So it's for 2 energy. It's got 3 health, which is perfect anyway as basic. But it's then a 2/3, which is not bad for a 2-drop if you've got 1 faith point, right? But then if you've got if you then got 3 faith points, it's gain +1 health. So now you're for 2 energy, you're a 2/3 with 4 health, and if you pray, you get shield. Now, it's not a rally effect, right? So what makes the Rhino insane is that once you've got the 3 faith points banked, right, you just bring this on and pray, and it immediately comes on at the 4 health and the buff. So yeah, I mean, this thing like seems very, very good in terms of like tempo board building. That seems like, and it's probably even going to get you back like after you've played a Relic of St. Catherine, right? You could probably play this on 5E and just waste the 1 extra, and it's still a really good way of getting you back on tempo after taking the turn off to play a Relic, because you're getting 9 energy of stats for 5 energy. I mean, that's pretty powerful if you ask me. I think this card's...
Yeah, I mean, as I said, that's the highlight.
Well, let's continue and
One
see.
off at least.
One off indeed. So we've talked about the Rhino, really strong card. We talked about the Sister. One thing I'll say about the Rhino, it's another 4-drop. It's another good 4-drop in this bloody Sisters faction. Everything in the Sisters faction that's good costs 4 energy. So there is a real problem in terms of the curve. And it's getting a bit ridiculous now. I kind of wish they'd change one of the 4-drops and make it cost 5. Like maybe the Retribute, maybe they buff its stats or something and then make it a 5-drop, because the 4-drops is so goddamn crowded. And because it's so goddamn crowded, they then released another really good 4-drop called the the Sacred Rose. Now
Oh my god.
this thing says deploy 2 Sacred Roses, sisters, the ones we've just talked about. And it says if you've got 3 faith, give them flank. Now, dude, again, if you've got 3 faith, you've got 3 faith. You don't spend it. It's not like the Eldar. It's not like spending Spirit Stone. So once you've got 3 faith, you play this. Not only do the 2 sisters now come out with flank, but the 3 faith requirement triggers as well for the Rose sisters. So you've now got, for 4 energy, something that I think this is better than the Rhino, because you've now got 4 health, 2 3 drops with flank. So that's 6 range damage flanker for 4 energy with 8 health. That's insane. That's like,
And they can just be played to shield up as well. So,
oh my lord. Like, this is, if you've got 3 energy, sorry, if you've got 3 faith, this is absolutely bonkers. The only saving grace for this is that it's going to be very likely that by E4 in most games you won't have 3. That's the saving grace.
The problem. Yeah.
But again, playing it on E5 after you've just played the relic, yet again the relic is crutch. The relic is like so important to this faction, sadly. But yeah, I think this is a good card. What do you think about the Cherub? The Armorium Cherub. So it's a flying unit. It's got rally, give +2 range to friendly units this turn. Sorry, to a friendly unit this turn. At the start of your turn, return this to your hand.
I mean, this guy is only playable on Erica realistically, because otherwise it just gets shot down like instantly. Erica can make this 3 health, and maybe in that sense it could be okay. The problem with I see with this card is that it has very low health, because you play it, for example, let's say it helps you trade, right? You target Erica, she gets, let's say, range attack, and then she attacks, so she can't give you the health anymore. So you're not really going to be able to bounce this guy effectively without it getting shot down. I think it's a cool concept. It's an interesting card. I like it, but I don't see it being played.
I played a lot of Junith, and I pushed quite hard on the ladder. And one of the weaknesses sometimes is you do have these turns where you can have 2 or 3 bodies down, but your opponent plays a high healthy unit, and you've got no way of clearing it. They can struggle a little bit. They can have these awkward turns, sisters. And what this does, it's almost like the 1-drop that the Necrons has, that does 2 damage. I look at it almost like that on a stick, right? And it seems pretty good in Junith to me, because you can imagine a turn where because of the Warlord power, you've got a Battle Sister on the board. So the Battle Sister prays, you play this down, your Warlord hits for 4 damage, trade something. Now what does your opponent do? Do they use the Warlord to kill this, or do they try to disrupt the prayer?
Oh, that is a good point.
And if they don't disrupt the prayer, then what this becomes is kind of like, because it bounces them back to your hand, it becomes a very cheap engine for kind of keeping up with the removal. So what you've got to do with this card, I think, is make your opponent choose between, do you want to remove the little shitty Cherub, or do you want to disrupt to the prayer? If you can do that, I think that's powerful, because I actually think you'd have to disrupt the prayer more often than not. I think that might be more important against sisters. That's where I think its niche is, that you're most likely to be able to create those scenarios probably with Junith because of the Warlord power. But again, I agree with you that I don't know that it'll be an easy card to get value from. Maybe a one-of. Problem is, there's so much competition now in Junith decks. There's so many.
Yeah, it's really hard to really decide what you're going to be including.
100%. And then we got the Castigator, which is the tank. What do you think to this?
We got the tank, another one with armor. So only the Predator is now the one without armor, right?
Yeah.
So weird. But Okay, this is pretty interesting. When a friendly unit prays, deal 2 damage to a random enemy. So this is like a Lehman Russ. Similar.
Mm.
It's a little stronger in terms of H durability, but you can't really deal. This is a Junith card. Again, you have a board swarm, and suddenly this thing becomes a machine gun. Not bad. I like it. It's a good vehicle. It's going to probably. I mean, some decks are gonna run this. Some are gonna run. So actually, that's another problem. Let me actually say about that. 7 energy is also a problem with the sisters. They have a lot of good options on 7. One being obviously the Mortifier, which you want to run on Morvenval. Morvenval Mortifier is really good. Then you got Saint Celestine that people have been using quite a bit because of it being able to give you invulnerability for 1 turn, basically, when you give it Vanguard. Oh my god, I don't know. It's and there's also another unit I really like, but I don't see a lot of people using. Celestian Superior. I really like that one as well because it can be a pain. So now you also have Castigator. There's so many choices. But I don't know. It's a good card for sure, but I don't know. It's once again, it's competing is the problem.
So if you compare it to the Predator, it's got 1 less melee attack. Predator's now got 5. This only got 4, but this does have armor. In terms of its trigger, the Predator seems to me more reliable because obviously it specifically says deal 3 damage to the highest power unit, so you can kind of like plan what you want to do a bit more. However, the Castigator obviously triggers with multiple prayers. So I feel like, yeah, I think I agree with you. It feels like Junith. The only problem with putting it in a Junith deck is that if you think about how Junith wins, she usually just wins by your opponent conceding, right? She usually just, she's not
Yeah.
like, this is all about like trying to do damage and be. It's like Junith doesn't really win like that. She just like grinds you into submission. So I don't. And also, if you've got loads of prey triggers, aren't you winning anyway? Like, isn't it a win more card in that? So I like it. I like the idea, but I kind of want to see. I kind of need to see where it fits in practice.
Yeah.
But definitely nice to have. I feel like the 7 drops are a little bit weak. Definitely nice to have an alternative and something uh, I like that it gives payoff for prey. 2 damage, random enemy. Yeah, don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure on this. Need to play it a little bit more. What about the Zephyrim Superior? So this is a basic card.
It's actually funny that the Zephyrim Superior kind of has less stats
Should be the Zephyrim
than the Zephyr.
Inferior, shouldn't it?
Yeah. But I do love that they actually have a prey that was suggested by the community. If you remember back in the day when we made the Sororitas suggestions, one of the suggestions that we had there was that Zephyrim should have a prey, draw a card. So instead, they could either attack or do a prey, draw a card. There you go. Here it is.
Oh, because
And
it's
it draws
got
you a
because
troop.
it's got flank.
Yep, absolutely. So now you have a choice. You could play this and draw a troop, or you can just play this and flank. And
Yeah.
honestly, I don't think Sororitas get a lot of very strong 5 drops. They get Astrid, and then there's like not Dogmata, Sister Dominion, I believe, right? Well,
Which is
Sister Dominion is obviously Sister Dominion is only for only for Morvenval, for nobody else. I run double on Morvenval, but I never use them on anything else.
I think
So this is a good
I
alternative.
like her in the Erica decks. I like those in the Erica decks as well, but not Junith. But I think you're right. Yeah, if the 5 drops are a bit weaker, aren't they? Having
Yeah.
that flexibility is quite nice because the problem with flanking cards is when you've got nothing to do, nothing to trade with, or the opponent plays stealth, but you can still, and then you lose tempo. So like being able to play this without using the flank 4/4, so the stats can't be cheated. Like a lot of flankers are, 5 melee, 0 range, right? So playing them out proactively is a problem because then they get cheated. Whereas this can't be cheated. It's flying. Um, yeah. The draw. Maybe you could drop the 1-drops now as well. You know, the 1-drops that draw. Maybe that could fill in the space for it. It's kind of like just a kind of utility card, isn't it? It's kind of like a. It's actually better than I first thought. It's actually better than I first thought. Not a bad
Yeah.
basic card. Not a bad basic card indeed. Yeah, interesting. Definitely want to test. And then we have this card. Now I don't know about you, dude, but I think this card's unplayable. I don't
Yeah, I don't think so either.
I think they need to change this to say each friendly unit that has prey heals 3. You know,
Yes.
that would help. I still don't know that it'd be playable. It might become a 2 out of 5 card instead of a 1 out of 5. But I just feel like, why would you pick this over the 2 or the 3 drop stratagem?
Is the main problem of this is that you have a better card already
Yeah,
at 3 energy, which gives armor and heals. It's just a
100%.
better card. It's more protection and it's guaranteed healing. So yes.
100%. So we got 3 more cards to look at. One is the priest.
Hey,
Now the
fat
priest,
priest.
we've got a good 3 drop ecclesiarch in Adeptus Sororitas. What's going on? I thought we weren't allowed good 3 drops in this faction.
Yeah, the only 3 drop that was somewhat okay after the buff was the Death Cult Assassin, and that again, that was for Morvan Val, I guess. So this is actually pretty good. Ministorum Priest, that's gonna be 3 energy, 5 health on Erica with a pretty good prey to buff damage. Yeah, pretty nice.
Yeah,
I like that.
I think this card's
I
solid.
already I already see a lot of people rocking this guy, so
Yeah,
yeah,
this card's
absolutely.
going in every Erica deck and probably a lot of Junith decks as well. It's I don't know. It's seems really solid. And you know the main thing we look for here is just the stats. This the standard stats. This is exactly what Sisters needed. It's
Yeah, it has the Praetorian stats, so yeah, it's really good.
phenomenal. Um, yeah.
No, thank you.
No, thank you. Now then, this is a card I really want to get into with you. The Emperor's Judgment. It says destroy an enemy troop and refill energy equal to your faith. What do you think to this card? What would you give this card out of 5?
I think I would give okay, call me crazy people. In terms of design, I'd give it a 5. In terms of playability, I don't know. In terms of design, I'll tell you why. Because it has a very interesting mechanic. It's a removal, but it's a refill. Potentially it will refill your energy and you'll be able to play something else. But look at this, it's for 9 energy. So you cannot abuse this. You can use this as a late game swing, which is fair. Now, for all my viewers who play HHL, this is a better way to do it than what the World Eaters got. So, BJ, basically, what World Eaters had was like this big hard removal, which reduced the cost every time I think your Warlord attacked. And then suddenly you played it for 0 energy at like turn 5, and then he played something. That is not cool. That is kind of toxic. This is much better because it's late game. You have to have your main faction mechanic, like thing complete, and potentially you can refill your whole energy with it. I think this is a really good card. In terms of playability, maybe 1 copy would definitely go into a control deck, but no, not 2. 2 is too much.
Yeah, I feel like this is a definite one of. And I think the faction was very over reliant on the divine intervention for control builds. I could see now like an Erica type of control deck with 1 copy of these in being pretty good.
Mhm.
And like the power ceiling for this is really insane, right? Like guys, we're talking about, you know, let's imagine that it's turn 12, E12, and you've got 12 faith. You play this for 9, you kill something, and then you go back up to 12 energy, right? Like, it is absolutely insane in that scenario. So it's a free hard removal, like you kill your enemy Blame Blade for free, basically, and then you still have 12 energy to play. Of course, those situations are going to be 1 in every 20 games at best. You need to build your deck around it. It is going to sit in your hand in many, many games when you're going to draw it on like E3. Think, I wish I'd drawn any other card in my deck, and it's going to be useless, and there's nothing you can do to cheat it out, I don't think. I think there's a way of getting this out earlier. So I'm missing something. So I think your point about it being powerful but fair is a really good. I think that nails it pretty much. Interesting. Yeah, I'm really happy with that one. And last but not least, then we got Adelaide the Serene. Now, Adelaide is a really interestingly designed card, right? What do you think to this one?
I love the design, first of all, let me tell you. I love the design because I'll tell you what I love and what I might not love. So I love it that like it's potentially a flanker, a very big one. It's like a Storm Boy, right? Basically, in terms of stats, even better or not. Yeah, it's a better Storm Boy actually with one more ranged attack. That is absolutely great. And it's also like, okay, if you don't have the faith requirement, you're gonna gain one faith for each enemy unit. So that's gonna be at least one when there's something on the when there's nothing on the board, because it's unit. Potentially in most cases, probably two, and maybe even more. So now you have even more reason to run the 40 energy defense card because you could coin this out at 4. What I might not like is that it also comes with a shield and flying. Might be a little too much. I could see potentially the shield going away. I don't know. Because, first of all, a 6 energy flanker with a shield is really powerful. I'm not saying that it needs to go. I'm just saying that maybe because it's so tanky. Even if you just drop this, like what are you so let me tell you like one of the things. One of the problems with Onshi was that he was so powerful and he is so powerful because of the shield that even after the nerf to the health, he's still like a scary card. If somebody gets him from what's it called again? Supplies or whatever it is. The card that reduces by three through the cost by three, and somebody drops him at energy 4, yeah, if you're not Orkz, you're not gonna have a good day. Same is gonna happen with this one, and it's a flying unit, makes it even that much harder to remove. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm all for it. Powerful legendary, give it here, but yeah, it's gonna be hellish. I think because of that shield. Otherwise, the design is very interesting. As I said, I love these choices. This is so good. That's what we need. Like, do this or do that. Do
Yeah.
this or do that. It's always cool.
I'm up for a little bit more complex card design. This is one of them. It's either like the second to third best flanker in the game. Maybe Long Strike's still a bit better, but I don't know. But it's up there. Like it's one of the best flankers in the game with the shield. But if you don't have the 6 faith, which let's be honest, there's a very good chance you won't have it, particularly by E6, then it's interesting, right? Because on the one hand, you want your opponent to have troops, because by having the more units they have, the more faith points you generate. But the problem with that is you're behind on board, and now you're spending 6 energy to play something that doesn't actually do anything that impacts the board, right? It doesn't have flank. So that's where I think the shield is really important, because the shield then means that, like, okay, at least it can somewhat stand up to a board that is much wider than yours. So yeah, it's kind of interesting in the design. It's a really good card. Like anything that gaining faith outside of the relic of Saint Catherine, I mean, that's brilliant. We should welcome that, right? We've already said how binary the faction feels at
Totally.
times, so this is cool in that sense. I think it's going to be played in every single deck. I just think that will there be scenarios where you're behind and you play this, and I'm not sure. I don't know if it's helping you massively, but I think the shield is really important in those situations. But if you have got the 6, like you say, it's just an amazing flanker. It's just like it's almost like hard removal, isn't it? And then you've got on a body basically hard removal on a stick.
It's a
The
monster.
thing's gonna be flying with 6 health still after taking out something massive. I mean, you can't ask for
This
much
also gives like
more.
BJ a very scary given situation. Like, imagine somebody lucky enough to first drop Astrid, then this, and then Celestine. Have fun.
Insane, eh? Absolutely
Yeah.
insane. So yeah, so overall, I mean, obviously, with the raid, we've got some cosmetics and stuff. I'm not a huge fan of this card. Sometimes the cards are like really must have, but I'm not that sure about that one. Um, Nothing like really anything gripping you there.
I mean, not really. I kind of like the last one, but not that much.
This one.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah,
pretty cool. But yeah, this one's also nice.
yeah, that's not too bad.
But honestly speaking, when you have like the base art for Big Mom, she's like, oh my god,
yeah,
holy hell, she's awesome. Like, look at that, man. That's like insane.
and that is
This
yeah.
is like, I don't know. I don't even know.
She's gonna be my
Nuts.
thumbnail for every single video I release for the
Like,
next
look at
year.
that, man. Look at that.
She's gonna be my
That's like
thumbnail for my Imatech control build. Like,
Emotech control deck, and
yeah,
there's like
she's just too.
Aveline just there.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The art's too good. She's just the thumbnail going forward. So,
Yeah.
no, super interesting. I think it's a good reinforcement drop, right? Overall.
Overall, it's really good. It addresses some sister issues. There are just one or two cards that maybe causing a little bit of an alarm, but otherwise, yeah, pretty good in reinforcements for sure. Undoubtedly, very good.
So, moving on a little bit, then we also have had a roadmap update.
Oh boy.
How are you feeling about where the game's at, Ecclesiarch, right now, and where it's going in the future? Well, I get the
I would say I feel quite good. So back in July, before the new rank system dropped, uh, I mean, it's not big secret. Like I've expressed it like many times that I was kind of disappointed with the game. I was like even feeling if this is how the game's gonna go, I'm just gonna have to drop it at some point because it was getting too much. Like every month, one warlord was crazy, and 1 month of like torture. Then suddenly the new rank system dropped. Everything went much better. Then suddenly we had two new factions that were pretty good, not like Tau and Sisters, like either very strong or very weak. And then we suddenly get hot fixes. We get like constant stream of content. Oh hell yes, we even got like Titus. Yeah, I'm loving where the game is going, I'll be honest. Like this game has been going quite well. And yeah, I think they're on the right track. This is at the point where too I know it's disappointing for my HHL viewers, but I've said it many times. I'm at the point where now I'm enjoying this game more than that.
more than
So
HHL. Wow, I was wondering
hell yeah.
when we were going to reach that day.
I mean, we're there because right now I think this feels like the problem with Warpforge was lack of content and stuff. And well, it did suffer from the same problems like HHL, the balance issues, but that ranked system, man, it really is the saving grace because
Oh,
even when we had that Magus and Junis swarm, if I would play 20 games, at least like 12 would not be Magus and Junis. So yeah, it's really good.
it's such a good system, isn't it? It does require a lot of time investment to really push. That's the
Yes.
only downside. Like, but like, to be honest, in any CCG, if you want to hit the top 20 ladder, it requires a massive time investment anyway. So, it's kind of is what it is. Um, yeah, I agree with you. I think the game's in a pretty good spot. I think the balance of the game's pretty decent. There's lots of decks, lots of warlords that can be used. Um, Good to see that they hot fixed Jane Zar, which was clearly kind of like pushing the brokenness. Um, and also, I'm kind of happy that they've released a roadmap for a quarter, essentially. Like just a few months. I think I'd rather see like more updates to the roadmap, and even if it's a bit shorter, I don't mind that. I think this is pretty cool to see. The only thing for me is like I would say I'm personally and selfishly not that interested in this like phase because because
I know.
the Black Friday offers are going to be great if you're a beginner. Let's be honest. There's going to be loads of bundles. If you need to catch up on your collection, it's going to be great. Now, if they would release like you think like a Hearthstone expansion, if we were getting like 100 cards, 150 new cards, and Black Friday deals around it, then I'd be super hyped. But that's not who these are going to be targeted for. So that doesn't mean much to me. The reinforcement drops and the raids, they're okay. Like they don't massively excite me personally. That doesn't mean they're a bad thing. Like I get that a lot of people do like them. I get that the raids are probably very successful for EG. They just don't massively excite me. I think um, they're better than nothing for sure.
Oh yeah.
Um, but
They're better than just grinding. So
yeah,
yeah.
but the thing for me, which is interesting, because I know we've got different opinions on this, is that the thing that kind of bums me out a little bit is the ultramarine reinforcement, because what this signals is we are about to embark on a second round of reinforcements. So if you're new to the game, basically what's happened at the end of November with Sororitas ones, every faction has now had a reinforcement drop, so 10 additional cards. And I wondered what would happen once they'd done that. And it looks like what the signaling is we're going to move up, go on to, everyone's going to get a second round of reinforcements, which is
Is
okay.
it though? We still have two factions who haven't gotten it: GSC and Imperial Guard.
True, but yeah, true. But I guess Imperial Guard just came out, and GSC
True.
only came out before they were the one before them, right? So yeah, so they're still to come. I don't know. Maybe it's more to do with the Space Marine 2 tie-in, and they're just doing that. But personally, like I don't know, like So personally, what I would prefer is instead of reinforcement drops, multi-faction expansions. So, instead of just getting 10
Mm,
cards for one faction, like get cards for multiple factions. I think that would make you
yes.
G more money. I think you'd attract engage a wider part of the gamer base, because what if you don't like sisters or marines or whatever? Like, that's what I personally want to see. Now, in terms of the raid, and what I'd actually like to see, what I think they could develop there is something like a monthly game pass, something like the premium campaign that happens on a monthly basis. Like that is something that I'd be all in for, because I love the premium campaign, and I miss not being able to having that incentive. And I think the raid idea combined with the premium campaign and making it like a monthly pass or something, so you can still play through it free to play, but if you pay, like an advanced pass or whatever, you speed up you get more rewards. Many games do that kind of thing. I think that would work well. But what I am really excited about is the Dark Angels. I
Oh
am
God.
I'm super hyped for that. I think this game, there's nothing better in Warpforge than when they release a whole new faction, and I've already decided that that's going to be my next beginner to legendary run. So I'm saying it right here. I'm saying it today, right here and now. I'm going to do Smurf accounts coming out, and I'm going to see if I can do, without seeing any cards, I'm going to see if I can do beginner to legend with the new Dark Angel faction. That's people have been asking me, am I going to do that again? Am I going to use new factions? Yes, and that's the next one I'm going to do. So I'm looking forward to that. How about you? What are your thoughts on the roadmap?
So well, first of all, I think there are some mixed feelings I have about the Ultramarines. It really is going to depend on whether or not what this means. Is it that we are going? Is it that we are going for a second round of reinforcements, or is it realistically that we are not going for a second round, but rather this just ties into some other Warhammer content that's basically dropping? Because, for example, let me just tell you, there are I think what EG is kind of going to be doing here is that they're going to be basically they're basically going to be tying into other content that's being released. Like, for example, let's say what this gets me actually excited about is that soon there's going to be the Mechanicus 2 dropping, one of my most favorite games, like from Warhammer content in general, guys. But that also gives me hope that we're going to get something for Mechanicus themed. Is it going to be like Mechanicus reinforcements for all Imperium factions, or is it going to be a warlord, or is it going to be a whole new faction? And like that is the good side of this for me. It shows that there's going to be some collaboration, there's going to be some cool stuff. So, and there's like Warhammer games are now coming out like crazy. And yeah, I would love to see some collab. And I think they need to see Mechanicum 2 collaboration that has to happen. And when we get the Atomic faction, actually, the soundtrack has to be on the level of the Mechanicus 2, Mechanicus 1 soundtrack. That's like what the game is famous for, the great soundtrack. So I don't want to see anything less, EG, because your soundtracks have been awesome until now. So yeah, but yeah, if this is like the second round of reinforcements, I don't know. I think this might be more BJ of like very event based stuff. Sometimes we might get this, sometimes that, because slowly it's going to become very difficult for them to reinforce every faction, because the more factions we get, the more round 2 you have to give, which would disrupt everything. So I think this is not going to be round 2. Maybe this is going to be like random collaborations. In terms of what you said, I think down the line they're going to start doing that, because once you have like 30 factions or something like we have in HHL, you cannot just do reinforcement drops anymore, because basically there's not enough time. Then you have to do it every week. So I think there's going to be like a legendary for every faction, or like 5 cards for every faction. We've had that happen in HHL before. We had this one expansion, which I think was the Terra expansion or something, where they added new cards to each existing factions. So I think there's going to be something like that in Warpforge as well. But the Dark Angels, this excites me for 3 reasons. Well, Dark Angels are freaking cool. I think a lot that's one, and this is going to attract a lot of players, and that's, for me as a content creator, is great. Number 2, this finally means that we are not going to have friggin' Dark Angels as an ultramarine reinforcement, which me and BJ were afraid of. We were fearing that maybe these sub factions, like other marine factions or so on, are going to be reinforcements. No, it's a standalone faction, and that gives me a lot of hope for different orc clans, maybe different dynasties. And well, this kind of confirms that Space Marine chapters are going to be their own thing. So we're going to have like Templars, Blood Angels, and stuff like that. But I would also love to see that for other factions, because even though I myself, I'm like the Imperium fan overall and Space Marine fan, like I know that a lot of people just get tired from all this Space Marine slugfest and they want to see some Xenos as well. So yeah, it would be cool if they did that in other stuff as well. And the number three reason I am excited is, well, this kind of, so I made a bit of a prediction, I think a month or a while ago, I think with you and Tim, BJ. I said that the Dark Angels were going to drop, and maybe that would signal to Primarchs dropping at some point. Now, I'm not sure what they're going to do with Dark Angels. Let me do my next prediction. I think that the legendary warlord is not going to be the Lion. I think it's going to be Azrael, probably, I would assume. And I think at some point then we're going to get Lion and Gilliman come to the game. Reason why I'm really excited for that is because Primarchs had very unique stuff in HHL with like special cards called Reckonings. And yeah, I'm not going to spoil for anybody who doesn't play that. So it really excites me because this gives me more hope that we're going to see some of those. So yeah, maybe with seeing Primarchs, then we're going to see the Silent King or stuff like that for Necrons. So yeah, a lot of cool stuff to come. And yeah, this is coming for December, so maybe we get it for Christmas.
And
Who knows?
I guess we don't know anything beyond that, right? Because the previous roadmap only took us up to December. So we're already in mid-November. So basically, we don't know what's happening in the game beyond 6 weeks from now. So that's also kind of
Absolutely.
exciting because it's like, what the heck does 2025 hold for us? What does that first quarter look like? I think that's going to be really exciting when we get that next roadmap and we see, are they going to have Dark Eldar? Is there going to be
Oh
Space
yeah,
Wolves? There's going to be all sorts of questions. But overall, I mean, so far, and I'm sure that we'll talk about this more than probably another episode of the podcast where we wrap up like reflections on the year. But I think overall, 2024 has been a really good year for Warpforge, and they've got a lot of things right. They've done a lot of things to improve the game. And seems like we got a lot of new players as well, right?
absolutely. They're like, we got a lot on Discord. The video views are quite high. Like I mean, it was no secret. Like when I was doing HHL and Warpforge videos, like on HHL I would have like 1,500 views. On HHL on Warforge I would have 500. Now on the other hand, like I get 2,000 to 3,000 on Warforge, which shows that the game is growing, and it's not even in its biggest phase yet. I would say so. Yeah,
Ever the
that is
optimist.
big. That is big. Oh yeah.
Well, guys, you let us know in the comments what you think. What are you excited about on the upcoming roadmap? How do you think 2024 is going in the game? And what do you think about the overall state of the game? Always enjoy the comments, and we always try to interact as much as possible with the community. So let us know. Thank you very much for all the support. Both me and Ecclesiarch have had lots of you asking when the next FORGECAST is going to be out. So I hope you enjoy it. We'll try and not let it be quite as big a gap. between now and the next one. It looks like we've got the ultramarine reinforcement just around the corner, so we'll be back for that for sure. So stay tuned, guys. Make sure you subscribe. Go and check out part 1 on Ecclesiarch's channel so you don't miss any of the content. And also shout out to our friend Long Tim as well. Tim is another content creator, and he is doing some really good stuff at the minute. His last 2 videos were really good. He's like really upped the editing and stuff of his videos. They were really great to watch. So if you've not checked out Long Tim, go and check that out. Chuck the guy a subscribe. He's trying to get to 1,000 subs, and I think he's at about 800 and something at the minute. So let's get him over that line, guys. That'll be awesome. And yeah, I hope you've enjoyed it. Thanks for all the support, and we will see you back next time for episode 19. Thanks very much.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys. Take it easy.